Papa says they spend 10 years alone, in the dark, stormy wilderness of the ocean. No land, no trees, and no company. Yet, after thousands of miles, they always find their way back to the exact same spot, to the only partner for a dance they never forget. This is the incredible, heartwarming story of the Wandering Albatross. Imagine a bird so big that if it stood in your living room, its wings would touch both walls at once. Oh, you won't believe how huge the Wandering Albatross is. Papa says if one stood in our living room and stretched out its wings, it would be 12 feet wide. That's way longer than our couch and even bigger than our car. The masters of the wind. What if you could travel thousands of miles without ever moving a muscle? The Wandering Albatross has mastered a magic trick called dynamic soaring, allowing it to stay in the air. They are like the kings and queens of the clouds. Because their wings are so long and pointy, they don't even have to flap them. Papa says they use a magic trick called dynamic soaring. They just catch the ocean breeze and glide for miles and miles. They can fly in the air straight for 12 whole days without ever touching the ground. They rest on the ocean, floating like a little boat, to eat and take a nap. Can you believe it? They even sleep while they fly, letting half their brain nap, while the other half steers. This is the Wandering Albatross, the giant that treats the entire planet like its backyard, the bird that defies gravity and finds its way home across the loneliest oceans on Earth. True love in the sky, and they are so romantic. Albatrosses pick one partner and stay together for their whole lives. Since they spend years flying over the empty ocean all alone, they have a special date back on their island. They perform a beautiful dance, clicking their beaks together, bowing, and pointing their noses at the sky to say, "I missed you." The giant's kitchen. When they get hungry, they don't go to a store. They go fishing at night. They love squid and fish that float near the top of the waves. They have a super strong sense of smell to find their dinner in the dark. They are just so big and brave, sailing over the stormiest seas like they own the place. Oh, you have to hear about where the Wandering Albatross builds its home. Since they spend almost their whole lives flying over the wavy ocean, they only come to land when it's time to be a mommy or a daddy. They pick these lonely, windy islands near Antarctica where the grass is nice and tall. The giant mud thimble. Unlike the Arctic tern who just uses a scrape in the dirt, the albatross is a master builder. They make a huge, conical nest. It looks like a big volcano or a giant thimble made of mud and grass. They use their big beaks to scoop up soil and pile it up high so the nest stays dry even if it rains or gets mucky. These nests can be over a foot tall, the one and only egg. And here is the most precious part. They only lay one single egg every 2 years. It's a big, white egg, and because it's so important, the parents take turns sitting on it for weeks. That is a long time to wait. Papa says while one parent sits on the nest, the other flies thousands of miles away to catch fish and bring back snacks. The fluffy giant chick. When the baby finally hatches, it looks like a giant, grey cotton ball. It stays in that mud nest for almost a whole year. The baby has to grow its own huge wings before it can take its first flight. Once it leaves the nest, it might not touch land again for 5 or 10 years. Can you imagine staying in your room for a whole year and then going on a 10-year vacation over the ocean? Imagine waiting for an egg to hatch in the nest for a whole year. The albatross shows us that the best things in life, like a family, are worth the wait. They fly thousands of miles alone. They always find their way back to their one true partner. It shows us that no matter how far we wander, love is the map that brings us home.